Okay, our audio should be up. Okay, Laura, we're ready to start.
All right, thank you. I showed, yeah, I've got 15 seconds. I'll start to write. You know, the last thing here on my computer.
And then just so you know, Chair Schneider, Harbor Master Regis, and Assistant City Manager Stevens here in chambers with Linda.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to call this January 6th, 2021 meeting of the Report and Commerce Advisory Board to order. Now, due to the special nature of our meeting being on Zoom, before we start, I would like to read the following into the record. So before we begin the meeting, I'll ask the following. For everyone to mute their phone device when they are not speaking. If you choose to run the meeting on multiple devices, all other devices should always be muted, and choose only one to speak through when called upon. The chair will call on each commissioner individually to provide their input on each agenda item. Please wait to be recognized by the chair before speaking, and remember to unmute. Always identify yourself when you are speaking so everyone can know, including the clerk. Wait for one person to finish before speaking. Everyone gets a say on each agenda topic, but the chair will call each person individually by name to have their turn to speak. If you do not have a response, then say no comment. Be respectful of everyone's time and allow them the opportunity to answer any questions they have been asked without interruption. Please remember there is a slight delay between the streams and delay while someone unmutes. Okay. Thank you. So to lead us in the pledge, Board Member Paquette, you're in chambers, is that correct?
I am.
Would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure.
Get off my chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Smith?
Here.
Jaffa?
Here.
Paquette? Here. Hughes?
Here.
Lemus?
Here.
Lawrence?
Here.
Chair Schneider?
Here. Thank you.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum?
Citizens' comments on any subject except those items scheduled for public hearing. Do we have anyone signed in or any comments submitted electronically?
I do not have any pre-submitted comments. IT, do we have anybody online for comments? There are no citizen comments, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So that brings us to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll move, Madam Chair. Just so move.
I'll second it.
Second.
Madam Clerk, can you get the motion and the second?
I believe that was Hughes and Paquette for first and second. Is that
Yes, it was.
okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any discussion on the agenda? I guess one thing that I will just note is we have a note from the clerk to remove the the December 2nd, 2020 regular meeting minutes and the December 16th, 2020 special meeting minutes from the agenda. So I would like to do that. And we'll just have those on at our next regular meeting. Any other changes from the board? And just to clarify, so when we vote, we'll be voting on removing items 1 and 2 completely from new business and not just removing them from the consent agenda. No discussion. Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Roll call for approval of agenda and consent agenda. Jaffa?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Lemus?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Madam Chair, motion passes. There are no other consent items on the agenda.
Madam Clerk. Special orders, presentations, and reports. First up, the Alaska Railroad report by Christy Terry.
Okay, I'll give a call to her. Hi, Christy. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Okay, we're ready for your report, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So you'll see my written report in the packet. I don't really have anything to add, and I am currently attending the Cape Head Economic Future Forum, but I'll open up if anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
I'm just curious if we know what's happening with the cruise ship industry.
Well, I will say that I do have a current 2021 calendar of the vessels still calling here. They have submitted berthing applications, and I have been tracking all the mitigation that they're doing. If you're interested, a good place to look at how cruise ships are addressing this is if you go on Viking. If you go on the Viking website, the very first page you can choose like COVID mitigation, and their CEO just outlines very nicely in a video what they're doing to ensure that they do have sailings for this coming summer. It is going to depend on CDC and also Canada, but the cruise ship companies themselves are being very robust in trying to get back into the market.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I can't hear anything else, so just checking and I'll sign off.
Hold on,
I have
Christy.
one.
Madam Chair, Bruce is looking for
uh,
acknowledgement.
Christy, of course, I see the grade is not plowed, and I don't know how often the railroad typically plows it for maintenance purposes, but are we, does the railroad have any change in their freight issues? I mean, normally last few years I've seen freight going up down the railroad in the winter, and I'm not seeing that this year. Have we had a change?
That's a good question. So our south line is not necessarily officially closed. We did close the south end 2 years ago. If we have demand for a freight train, that's when they'll do maintenance on the lines themselves. We just don't have any projected scheduled freight at this time.
Is there is a reduction in freight a COVID or an economy related thing, or is there a change in destination for freight?
You know, honestly, the change, when she's been around here long enough to remember, like when we had 2 coal trains a week coming in, we definitely kept the lines, the rails up to a different standard then. This year, I wouldn't say there's a turn down on cargo. It just is really, in the wintertime, mostly project specific. So we just don't necessarily have a project or any company at this point scheduling any freight.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I'm back. My Zoom reloaded on me, so thank you for continuing on. Does anyone else have any questions for the port manager? No. Well, Christy, thank you, and thank you for keeping us up to date. I know a lot of things are kind of we're in the waiting mode. So we appreciate you letting us know what you know at this time, and hope that we have lots of good news moving forward for this summer. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. In my next month's report, I'll include some of the COVID mitigation measures. They've been having constant updates, so I don't want a barrage, but I'll have some better material included in next month's packet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Chamber of Commerce report, Jason Bickling.
Is Jason online?
I don't see him on.
Okay.
He's probably on that Cape Head meeting. He was on the Cape Head meeting also.
Yeah. I'll give Jason a quick call. Madam Chair, appears he's unavailable at the moment.
Yeah, thank you very much for trying. So, as always, he has a very detailed report in the packet. So, encourage everyone to look at everything that the chamber has been up to, and we'll hear from him at the next meeting. The Harbor Master report. Mr. Reese. Oh, remember,
Yeah.
Jocelyn, did you have something to add?
Yeah, in the chamber report, I noticed that you were an active participant and got good credits from Tim on that. But what did you take away that AIDA had, AIDA, Alaska Energy Authority had, or AEA, pardon me, had to offer the city of Seward? They've been an insignificant contributor to the Seward economy.
So, as far as the call itself went, it was really kind of a one-sided where Seward is at call. There was, a lot of general talk of how we can work together, but not really into the specifics. So I can't unfortunately answer with a lot of specifics for you, Bruce. It was.
Hello?
Down the line that when opportunities arise, they can come to us, or we can go to them, and they'll kind of have some background of where we're at. So at this stage in the game, there was nothing specific discussed.
Okay. Well, if I might, I get the feeling that AIDA probably under the Dunleavy administration, is looking for opportunities around the state. I mean, the talk of the $20 million on leases and things like that. So I'm glad to see that Ada and this group, probably Tim Dillon, is a big contributor, reason there to get down and see what can be done. And I think later in our discussions, I'll probably come back to that when we're talking about the climate action activity.
Thank you, Bruce. Mr. Regis, Harbor Master's report.
My report's in the packet, and I'll be up to any questions if you have any.
Questions from the board? No? Well, Norm, I can say I walked down to see the repairs on X-Float, and excellent job. Things are looking good. Everything in the harbor is looking good. As a winter user of the harbor, I appreciate that that the walkways are so well maintained between snow events. Nothing's perfect. It's hard to keep caught up, but you guys do such an incredible job of keeping those walkways clear and sanded. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the crew.
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask the Harbor Master a question, if I could.
Yeah, board member Hughes.
Yes, Norm, is there any updates or status position on what's going on with the new vessels, the new Coast Guard vessel coming to Seward, and all the infrastructure and necessary support? Any updates on that?
Yes, Madam Chair, to Board Member Hughes. So he did a quick presentation to council at the last meeting. They wanted to get the feel where council was, whether to sell the land or lease the land. So he's moving forward. I'm currently replatting that piece of property. As soon as the plat is done, I'll be going back, going before council with a lease for Polar Seafoods, because they have to remove themselves from one of the pieces, and then we'll start the process with the Coast Guard. But they are coming. It's you know, the government moves slow. It's not a fast process, because I've been working on this now for 4 years. So.
Madam Chair, I just want some clarity. What parcel of land is the city offering, or will be offering? I just position, is it that piece that's between the basically fronts the area where the ramp goes down that was on Polar Seafood? Is that it, or what, Norm?
So the piece of property is just on that rounded corner by Polar Seafoods, where all their stuff is stored, where they had a tent city. That area right there, that area you see where the rocks are, that's where Polar's going to be moving to. So it frees up that one spot, the 3.1 acres that they need.
Thank you, Norm. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions for the Harbor Master? Okay, seeing none. Norm, thank you very much. No other special orders, presentations, or reports. That takes us to page 2 of our agenda. Unfinished business. Discuss, review, and approve the letter to council for the heat pump rebate. So you have that as a laydown for those of you at home. In the at our May 19th meeting, and I had it in my head that we had passed a resolution. I went back through legislative history, and we did not. But we did pass. We made a motion. We made a motion to. This wording comes directly out of those minutes. Recommend the council approving utility rebates for heat pump installed at $50/50 or $1,700. Again, whichever would be less. So that happened May 15th, 2019. Then that was brought to council at the work session on February 3rd of 2020. That work session that was many different electric department matters that actually ended up, it was January 20th, and then February 3rd was the second meeting, because there was a lot of things being discussed. And it was briefly discussed there. The only information presented in the packet was the meeting minutes from our PACAB meeting saying that PACAB recommended it. There was none of the background information or the presentation from Mr. Kaluza or anything to accompany it. So I wrote this little memorandum to council stating the background and then saying that based on our discussions that we had at the end of last year, we'd like to reaffirm our desire for some version of this program to come to fruition. Initially, we said it was 50-50 or a $1,700 rebate, but there's lots of ways this could happen. So in the second paragraph, I just kind of lay out that we still want this to happen, and I indicated here that along with our memorandum that the presentation from Mr. Kaluza would also be included so that they would be able to see more information about what it is that we're advocating for. And I included a note, as Mr. Kaluza told us, that current fuel prices being lower mean that the payoff period for the heat pumps is longer. Because there's not as much of a gap between what the cost of heating fuel and what the cost of the heat pump would be. So I wanted to make sure that that was clear, because that was based off of 2019 numbers. But and then in the third paragraph, I lay out a few of the different options for funding this. One being a grant, and the other being the Rural Energy Savings Program, which our board has also advocated for. And in that, in the packet for that February 3rd work session of last year, the information on the Rural Energy Savings Program was also included. So that will also not be the first time that council is seeing the rest information. I did leave things at this point pretty basic because as a board, we didn't discuss a lot of details about the specifics of how we wanted to see things happen. I think the next step is getting council buy-in, because if council says this is something that's not a priority for them, then it's not worth our time to get into the nitty-gritty details. But I figure if they do kick this back to us and say it is a priority, then it's something that we might revisit again in a more, maybe in a more nuanced way, where we're talking about specifics and looking into funding sources and things like that. But before sending this to council, I just wanted to get all of your eyes on it and make sure that what I'm saying is the will of the board, and that you agree with what I'm saying, and see if you wanted to make any changes or wanted to add any wording to it. Oh, thank you very much. So we have that document shared on the screen now. So, yeah, I'd just like to open it up to anyone that would like to, if you could, board member Johnson.
You guys were coming, so I didn't bring copies.
Make a motion that we pass this letter onto the council, and if it's approved, there probably should be maybe a little wordsmithing, but not much. But I would make a motion that we do send your letter. You're asking for approval in the agenda.
Yes, sir. So,
Second.
Madam Chair?
This is Colby.
Thank you, Colby. Go ahead.
is that, Harbor Master Regis, is that you?
Yes, Madam Chair. So,
Okay.
council might want to know what grant, in your third paragraph, what grants are available. They might want to ask that question, so I'm not sure you had a specific grant in mind.
I do not at this point. Back when we were doing this 2 years ago, I had looked at several different federal grant options that were for energy-related programs, and I just don't know what's available now. I don't have the knowledge about what is current, so that's why I kept it very vague. I guess the idea is even the research that it takes to find out what specific grants would apply to this program is some time and effort. So this is kind of the initial step to say, hey, council, is this something that you'd like us to move forward with? The last time that we gave them our priorities, what we said is we were going to look at it and then give them a recommendation on whether to move forward. And so this is that recommendation, just the basic saying, we'd like to move forward and evaluate funding sources or evaluate what the options are. If anyone on the board does have any more specifics they'd like to add, that would be wonderful.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes, this is Ben Smith. I would refer back to the meeting several months ago we had with the utility manager where he also outlined the benefits to the utility directly. So in your third paragraph, maybe we could add a sentence in there about how the increase in demand and predictable demand to the utility, basically helps pay for the infrastructure. So if I recall correctly, the discussion kind of went into where this could be funded from the utilities budget.
Yes. So, yes, that is an option. It is. I think I was being a bit of a chicken because asking for a program like this to be put into a new budget in a year when budget funds are, a little tighter. I'll read so the second sentence in my third paragraph, as the program proceeds, the additional revenue made by the electric utility would make it self-sustaining. That's kind of where I was getting to, where really the program can sustain itself, but to start, because it's an unknown, people might feel more comfortable if we get a pilot program off the ground with a grant. And then once it's going and it's proven itself, then it can continue to sustain itself. But you are correct that is another option, is to put it in the budget because, the economics they're there. I just think they're a little scarier for people. So again, I think that was me being a chicken, but you are correct.
All right, thank you. I understand that utilities like to know what their demand is, so adding heat pumps to the system basically gives them a guaranteed load for 20 years. So there's an advantage there that they could realize, but it's hard to put in words that are yeah. All right, thank you.
Well, so a suggestion might be in the second paragraph where it talks a lot about economics, but it's more saying why we're recommending it. We could say that an additional benefit is the increase in predictable demand to the utility. With that wording? So like as a last sentence of the second paragraph, like an additional benefit would be the increase in predictable demand for the electric utility.
Yeah, something like that would be good. It helps them with their long-term planning. Helps negotiate better rates with True Gas, even if they know what the demand's going to be. So, yeah, I would definitely like to have that in here somehow. That sounds like a good idea. The second paragraph.
Okay. We have the main motion on the floor. I will make a motion to amend to add at the end of paragraph 2, an additional benefit of this program would be the increase in predictable demand for the electric utility.
Point order. Point order. Would we be able to wrap up any changes altogether in a single motion?
We can, but it's not necessary. It might be.
I think there's a couple other small changes that might come up in this discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So, Bruce's, Jaffa's motion was approval of the letter to council for the heat pump rebate program, but he didn't state as written. So, I believe there would be wiggle room to do the discussion on changes, and then we could call for the final vote. I think if he had specified as it's submitted, that's when we would have to do amendments. But I think we've got wiggle room since he just left it open to approval of the letter. And then we're doing a discussion now on what the final letter will look like. So I think we
Okay.
can just do, continue with the final main motion, yeah.
Okay, so, we'll just make sure that we make it really clear what additions we're making, since people aren't gonna be able to see that in real time. And maybe just, we'll have a final reading of what those changes would be before we take the vote. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah, and I just need that last sentence again that you were adding, because we kind of got interrupted there while I was typing it.
Yeah, no problem. So, an additional benefit of this program would be the increase in predictable demand to the electric utility.
The increased and predictable demand of the utility
Yeah, to the electric utility.
to the, okay.
Snyder. In the first paragraph, I would like a little clarity. The 50/50 or $1,700, is that up to or maximum $1,700?
Yeah, I agree that is confusing. However, that is the wording as written from our minutes.
I don't think we should present it to council unless it's clear.
Yeah, okay. No, I agree with you. So we could add, you know, what you can do, like when you quote things, what you have to put it in the brackets, right? Big brackets, meaning that it is not as written. But and I guess this isn't like, you know, this isn't going into minutes. I just didn't want to mess up things for legislative history or take things from legislative history out of context. But we could maybe put in brackets before the 1,700 up to, because I do agree that that's a really important clarification.
Chair Snyder?
Yeah.
It may be possible that this is just a base that council may decide, 60/40 or some other number. So I think our recommendation or this language may change in the future anyway. But I agree with you. If you put up to or some grammatical method of showing that it's floating or not floating.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really solid suggestion. So I would, if there's any other suggestions, please. I think that's a really solid suggestion. So I would, if there's any other suggestions, please let me know.
Laura?
But I think, if not, we'll just put bracketed up to before that 1,700.
Chair Snyder?
Madam Chair, Paquette's trying to get your attention.
She's frozen now.
Back, Laura.
I think
Madam
you're,
Chair,
If I might, I think the gavel's been passed briefly and ask Board Member Paquette to go ahead.
I was just going to say, rather than messing with that first paragraph, to just add a sentence at the end of it that, because we're making the recommendation, if I understand this, we're making the recommendation for council to say, yes, PACAB, please develop the program, right? So leave that paragraph intact and just add a sentence at the end that says something along the lines, with council approval, PACAB is happy to, explore programs and installs at 50/50 or 60/40, or, I mean, we'd be happy to develop a program and understand that the split may be different or the amounts may be different, something like that. Just a simple sentence at the end of it would be my
Pass the
recommendation.
gavel.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Zoom keeps restarting, and I don't know why. If it,
Chair Snyder, I took the gavel briefly. I passed it back to you. And in the interim, the board member Paquette had made a recommendation to somehow just add a statement saying this is a recommendation to council as a general statement, I believe.
okay. After where it specifically says the installs at 50/50 or up to 1,700, where we would say this is an initial recommendation and is open to change or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Board Member Hughes.
are you able to see me?
I am not. I see a black box.
Okay. Let's see. Anyway, my question is this. I note that this letter is in the handout, so are we going to get copies of this letter?
That is my fault. It says a laydown because I did not have it to the clerk in time.
It was mailed out, it was emailed out this morning as a laydown to everybody. What we can possibly do is it possible, once we get the changes done, to bring up my screen? Because I'm actually physically doing the changes. Okay, so we can pull up my screen because I'm typing in the physical changes as you guys are discussing it. Once everything's done, so that we can review it together.
Thank you. That sounds wonderful. Linda, did you give specific wording for the sentence that you wanted to add? Still needs to.
I just said something along the lines of, this would be the numbers are an initial recommendation with the assumption that we would develop the program and firm up the split or the totals. I don't have it worded exactly because if you don't want to do it, then, but I'm happy to get a sentence worked out if that's of interest.
Yeah, if you want to work, why don't you work on that and bring it back to us?
Okay.
And while she's doing that, does anyone else have changes that they would like to make?
I have a question is all, Chair Snyder. Would this letter go with another copy of Mr. Kalu's presentation? Okay.
Yes.
So anything that's referred to as Phil Kalusa's representation would go to council and do? Okay.
Yes. That would accompany this. And I believe it would be the first time that someone on council would do that presentation. I'm not sure about that. But I did search legislative history for heat pump rebate, and I didn't see a time that it was presented to council.
You have a new council. You have a new council.
That is true as well. Madam Clerk?
I did find the presentation, I believe you were referencing, it was presented to PACAB at the March 6th, 2019 meeting, and I did attach that with the laydown when I sent the email this morning.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. That is exactly the presentation that I was referring to. That's perfect.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
If the sentence read, these numbers are just a starting point for discussion, is that sufficient?
Yes.
I'm thinking you could make it parenthetical even at the end of that paragraph.
That I like that because I was going to say that paragraph is really for background and not for details. It's just saying like this is how we brought it to you before. But if we made it parenthetical at the end of that sentence, just saying these numbers, however you just said it. I liked how you just presented it.
Okay. These numbers are just a starting point for discussion.
Yes. I would like to add that in parentheses after 1700 at the end of the outside of the quotation mark. just so that we have that as an aside. I like that. Any additional changes? Why I like having your guys' feedback. This is much. I like all of these that we've made. I think they make it much better. Okay. So I'm not seeing anyone right now. So Madam Clerk, would you like to share your screen so we can see?
Is up to the people. Okay. Okay, so you should all be able to see the screen now.
Yeah. So the only thing that I'm seeing here is, so in the very first sentence, where it says utility rebate for heat pump installs at 50/50, or in brackets, could we add up to? So
okay.
Open bracket, up
I did
bracket.
I apologize. I did have that, and I thought when you guys were talking about these numbers are just for, that was replacing that. My apologies.
Oh, gotcha.
I did have that in there. There you go.
So, and then in the sentence you added in the second paragraph, if it could read, would be the increase in predictable demand. So instead of increased and, it's increase in. And just minus the D on increase there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Chair Schneider,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if in the next paragraph, instead of it reading funding for a 50/50 cost share, if we just got rid of the 50/50, so
Yeah.
funding for a cost sharing pilot program could be achieved.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. We're trying to be less specific.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Anything else that anyone's seeing here? Okay. Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve sending this letter to council. So if we could, and with the changes that we've made to it here. So Madam Clerk, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Roll call for approval of the letter to council for the heat pump rebate. Lemus?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Jaffa?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
Lawrence?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Madam Chair, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that is the end of our unfinished business, which brings us to new business. Our first item 3 on the agenda, discuss the January 20th, 2021 work session topic. Yeah, so when we made our calendar only went up through last year, so we're an open slate for this year for both for our work session topics and our agenda items. So as I've been thinking about this, my thought was that we need to set our calendar for the year. So I would like to see that be a discussion item, but if there's something else that someone wants to add as an additional item, we might have time to do that as well. I don't think it will take us an hour to set our topics, but that's all that I have front of mind right now. So does anyone else have anything they'd like to see on this work session? Yeah, I think setting the topics for the year will be good so that we have some idea. We have a lot of things going this year, so we should spend some time thinking about how we're going to separate that stuff out. Okay. Well, Board Member Jaffa.
Well, I don't want to go somewhere that's going to cause a bad karma, but we are eventually, or I think we can see that we're going to come out of this cloud that's COVID-19. And I think as a community, we need to start planning for how we are going to reinvigorate our commerce. The cruise ship industry clearly is not coming back quickly. The shipyard facilities, yours and JAG and Tugas, they're all doing very well, although there's challenges in the fishery. I think we could begin laying some kind of groundwork with our partners with Kenai Economic Development and Chamber of Commerce to start discussing in an outline form where we go. And another topic, which is almost a parallel in climate action, and I know some of the board member has been very active in this, but I get newsletters, and many of you do, from First National, and there's serious concern about how the impact of climate change is going to affect communities, and it's not just the feel-good things about like heat pumps or windmills and things like that, but what are we going to do to, pardon me, lift our skirts up and keep our clothes dry? So nobody wears skirts anymore. Those things need to be brought to the community in a way and brought to the council, and I know they'll be receptive to them, and any groundwork that we can provide to them or background, I think we should have those in our topics to discuss.
Thank you.
So I guess, Lord, Chair Snyder, what I'm saying is we can start with a general discussion in our January 20 meeting of how we could present some outline topics in this regard.
Thank you. Yeah, when we're setting our goals calendar, that's kind of another opportunity too to talk about what the broader topics are that we're going to talk about for the year. I would say though, there wouldn't be any harm in adding a discussion topic. What I wrote down based on what you were saying is discuss the path to economic recovery from the pandemic.
Yes.
And maybe in one work session, setting our goals calendar and doing that is a bit ambitious, but we have so much on our plate this year that I think that this might be a good time to have that, to start having that discussion. So I would propose, I would make a motion that we set the work session topic to be set the goals calendar for 2021 and discuss the path to economic recovery from the pandemic, which is pretty broad, but I like the idea of approaching things from that lens, and I think the two overlap really nicely together. Because as we're setting our goals calendar, the timing in which we're talking about certain things might be affected by, by where we're at and how far we are and how far along we are in the recovery process. So that was an excellent suggestion. That's my motion.
Second.
Can I get a second? Thank you, Board Member Jaffa. Any discussion on that motion? Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call for the motion to set the topic for the next meeting to be set goals calendar for 2021 and discuss the economic development recovery from the pandemic. Lawrence?
Yes.
Paquette?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Jaffa?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Lemus?
Yes.
Chair Snyder?
Yes.
Chair Snyder, motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item of discussion under new business is discuss a virtual energy fair, and I know that we've been putting this on each agenda just so that we can kind of keep the ball rolling, but I will pass this to our Energy Committee and see if they have any updates at this time, and this is the discussion for the date. Board Member Smith?
Yeah, I didn't have any updates on that over the holiday from last time we discussed it.
No problem there. It's been a busy month. This meeting snuck up on me. I don't know about you. Okay, well, thank you. And again, you know, we're in 2021 now. I can't believe how much everyone on this board accomplished in 2020. And the amount of work we got done in such a tough year. I'm really excited for the year ahead. That brings us to our last item under new business, which is to discuss the PACAB report to council. And I think that this is kind of a standing item in the January agenda because we're supposed to make a report to council in the first quarter. However, it's only been maybe it's been 2 months now since we had our last report. And the report that's included is the one that submitted to council last quarter. And I would like to wait until after we set our goals calendar and have our priorities for this year set to write my next report to council. And I'll have that written up with the rest of what we accomplished in 2020 and kind of what we're looking forward to in 2021. So currently, I don't have anything to share with you as far as a report to council, but I thought since it's on the agenda, usually you guys only get the chance to, to comment after I write the report. But based on kind of the format in which I did the last one, does anyone have anything that they'd really like to see included in this next report or highlighted, or anything that they'd like me to make sure that I add for council? Board Member Paquette.
We discussed this at the last meeting, did we not?
Yes.
So you're going to develop your report based on that, what we covered in that last meeting?
So that's actually different. At the last meeting, we were discussing our priorities for 2021, which will come to us in resolution form at the next meeting. But a lot of what we determine and how those play out will go into what I want to tell council for our next report, saying this is what we're looking forward to doing. Yeah, a lot of what we discussed in that last meeting will be included in the report as just kind of a list of things that we're looking forward to doing in the first half of the year. Which will also, I will know that more once we set our goals calendar and we know specifically when we're doing things.
Thank you.
Thank you. So any other discussion on that report at this time? Again, this report will come to you next month. We'll have our priorities. At the work session, we'll talk about our goals, and then it will be in March that I'll have the report for you. Go to council, the written report. Okay. Seeing none, that brings us to the end of our new business. We're going to get you out of here before 1, Aaron. Citizen comments. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments submitted or anyone on here?
We did not have any pre-submitted comments. We did not have any online comments, so there are no citizen comments.
Thank you. That brings us to board comments, and Board Member Lemus, I'll start with you, just if you have anything you want to say in case you have to hop off.
Zoom meeting, super cool. Yeah, no, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Board Member Smith.
Thank you. Just a quick response to Board Member Jaffa. I do encourage the climate resilience discussion. There's a lot of things that we can do, but I wouldn't say heat pumps are feel good. I think there's certain things that have a direct, quantifiable impact on our local environment here. And not to nitpick too much there, but I do really encourage pursuing those. And there are things when we get into the climate discussion that are much broader and less locally quantifiable. And I feel like Port and Commerce Advisory should be stuff that is directly quantifiable to the city of Seward. So I'd like to see the discussions go that way. That's my personal take on that. And also the discussion on economic recovery after COVID. That is, I think there's going to have to be some reinventing of our local economy. We're so heavily based on tourism and just the general activity in the state decreasing. I think that's we didn't quite get that narrowed down, but the decrease in freight traffic, that's surely related somehow to the overall economic state of the state. So there's a lot on our plate, and I hope that we can have a very productive work session and make a lot of work for ourselves for this next year. Thank you.
Board Member Paquette.
Let's see. So Happy New Year to everybody. I think the one thing that I just wanted to say is that I think we keep saying energy fair, but I really want it to transition into training sessions. Now that we have the ability of net metering, I think it's important to educate the community so that they know what that means for them and how they can adapt to that. And I'm looking forward to 2021. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us, but it feels very positive. Thank you.
Board Member Lawrence.
I don't really have anything. Happy New Year, everyone. And like Aaron said, the Zoom meetings are great. Certainly makes it a little easier to attend.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how meetings adapt going forward. I have a feeling in a year we're all going to be back in the same room together with just no memory of any of this. But in the meantime, it's very convenient. Board Member Hughes.
Well, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting work session, but I had somewhat of an emergency come up with our snow equipment. And I had to haul a load of the anchors and whatnot. I had to get it up there. But Happy New Year to everybody. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. And you're right, we have the opportunity to help the community of Seward find direction in these troubling economic times that will be outside the existing revenue streams. And I look forward to the challenge of doing it.
Thank you, Board Member Hughes. Before I forget, Mr. Regis, do you have any comments or anything you'd like to add?
Yes, Madam Chair, I think you might check with the clerk, but I think she's got you scheduled to give your presentation to council here at the next meeting or the meeting afterwards for your yearly letter to council, so you might want to check on that.
I'll check with Brenda. Are you talking about this very next meeting?
Yeah, I think they got her scheduled to give you a report, so.
Okay.
Yeah, there is. So we got a little off on our reporting schedule, so I did just give a report to council not too long ago, but if they would like me to give one again, I can certainly do that. It would be the verbal report and not a written report, so that would be something that doesn't have to go through the board. I can just give a report on what we did at the end of the year. I just like to run the written reports because they are so much more formal and go into the record by the board to make sure that they have everything in there they want. But if, Madam Clerk, if I'm on the schedule to give a verbal report, I am happy to put that together.
I'll get with Clerk Ballou and verify that and get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Regis, for the heads up.
Yeah, I have one more thing for if anybody else is watching, that the airport is currently open again.
Thank you. Board Member Jaffa.
Thank you, Chair Snyder. I would first like to thank all the board members. We have a full board meeting. I know it's not always easy, Zoom or not. I think the contribution that we can make to the city of Seward is great, particularly when we have all our team together. So I thank everybody for participating, as well as our administration, interim manager Regis and others, and our Brenda and everyone for all they do. I would like to remind everyone that PACAP, Port and Commerce Commission, certainly has two major important words in them. We are identified to a great degree with our harbor. We have one of the finest in the world. And the port, as a function of PACAP, is always in front of us. But the commerce portion is also there. And obviously I live 36 miles away from the water, but the commerce that's part of the East Peninsula is very important to me, both as a resident and a business person. So I think our role in commerce, along with our partners, is very important. I thank Board Member Smith for pointing out that I wasn't trying to be cavalier about heat pumps. I'm actually planning 2 more for those. They're a great issue. To my Facebook friends, I was able to post a notice of a General Electric windmill, which is in development, and it will be planned for offshore development, offshore placement. It'll have a 600-foot diameter wheel. The blades will be 300 feet each. It would produce 13 megawatts, or roughly equivalent to 13,000 homes in a normal usage. Those could be positioned offshore in a huge number of places in the world. The pushback, of course, is visual and, if they're going to impact the birds and things like that. But there's a great development in the energy field that we need to keep in front of us. Along with the comments I made a little earlier, I just simply say that the major impacts of climate change are being honed down in the financial world as physical changes and transitional. And the physical changes clearly would be where you build your sidewalk higher. And transitional would be how your economy adapts to a changing world climate. So those two things, I think it's recognized in the financial world worldwide that climate change is real, it's happening. We have to make adjustments. Doesn't mean that we're not going to do what we can to protect ourselves and reduce our footprint. And one last thing, and Manager Regis did highlight the fact the airport is now open. If anybody doubts that the importance of presenting our case to the governor is real, take a look at the Seward Highway. Senator McKitchie reacted to a bunch of letters and got the Seward Silvertip Station reopened. It took a lot of pressure to do it. On their own, Department of Transportation closes the airport because they doesn't have any money. They open the airport. we had announcements last week for opening and closing at least 4 times. And I'm glad it's open now, but it's a vital link, and the only way we're going to protect our own interests is by presenting our case to Senator McKitchie, Representative Ben, in any case. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So, enough said. We have got lots to do, and Chair Snyder, thank you very much for a well presented meeting today.
Hello, everyone. Happy 2021. I'm approaching this year with a lot of optimism, although I will admit that the summer is far too close for my comfort. All I could see when I saw it was January is like June is just around the corner, which from a business perspective is crazy. I know we all get so busy in the summer, but also for this board, man, we had such an ambitious schedule this year, and I just hope that we have the time and the energy to put into making a lot of these things happen. So again, as always, I appreciate your time. It is so good to have everyone together for a meeting today. It's been a while, just this fall travels and COVID, and it's just really good to have everyone together. And I'm looking forward to the work that we're going to get done in this year. I just wanted to give a really quick cross shout out to our other commission, the Historic Preservation Commission, and just highlight something that they're working on right now. They're working on getting signs approved for a grant that they received to have a historical walking tour in Seward and have signs in front of some of the historic locations. And my husband and I are both kind of history nerds, and we've been saying since we moved here, as we've walked ourselves around trying to find historic locations, how cool it would be to have this. And so I think it's so wonderful that they've put all of this effort into doing this, and I think it's going to be a great thing for our town, for both locals and for visitors. So really excited to see what they're doing, and just wanted to give them some props for all the hard work that they've been doing in that regard. So I think that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. I will see you all at our work session. Have a great day. Adjourned.
Thank
you. At 1:06.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As always. Thank you for all of this.
And expect a call from me this afternoon on that agenda item for council meeting.
Okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
you.
Bye.
Goodbye.